What's up, guys, ladies and gentlemen? This is Simon for Thommann's Drum Bash. And today I'm very excited to be talking to a living legend behind the drum kit. He's very known for his precision, his creativity, and his totally iconic sound. And it is Mr. Simon Phillips.
Hello.
Simon.
What was this thing you did? What was
this is
that?
like a little
secret
signature handshake that I have.
Okay.
There's a little sound underneath. It's actually the "We Will Rock You" sound.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay, got it.
Simon, it's a big pleasure to have you here.
Lovely to be here. Great. Yep.
Thommann's Amphitheater, and I'm really looking forward to your workshop tonight.
Thank you.
And it was actually for me, especially as being a drummer as well, it was a very special treat to be able to see you doing a sound check, because this is nothing that you normally can see as like from the audience part. What I found really interesting is how you handle the sound check, how clear your vision is of the sound you want to have. Like, for example, the things you were talking about, the phase issues with the overhead and the snare microphones, or the balance of the three snares.
Yeah.
So maybe you can just start to talk a little bit about that vision. And
Well, I mean, basically the instrument itself is a well-balanced instrument, and that obviously takes many years to come up with that. The concept is that if you're recording it, ideally, you can put one microphone over the top, and it's going to sound like a balanced drum kit. Because, I mean, there's nothing you can do. It's one microphone. It's not even stereo.
Yeah, right.
So the idea is that when you tune your drums and when you select your cymbals, is that they work together. I find not a lot of attention. I know even when I was younger, I didn't really know about this or pay attention to it, and I might have a cymbal that's way too loud for the drum kit. I've noticed if I go to a small club where you can hear the band acoustically and you can hear the drums acoustically, sometimes I'm sitting there, like at the baked potato, and there's this drummer, he's whacking this cymbal, and the cymbal's so fucking annoying. Because he is not really accounting for the fact that that's loud, but his drums are not projecting. Probably because of the way he's tuned them, you see. So back when I started recording, we only had, actually my first sessions were mono. At the BBC in 1971 was the first time I did a recording session for the BBC, and they were still transmitting AM for Radio 2.
Radio.
We had one, what is it, 3348 or 4030? I always get that mixed up. It's the Coles or the STC microphone. It'd be one over the top of the drum kit and a D25 AKG on the kick drum. And that was it. Two microphones. Then they started adding a snare mic. And then I noticed once I started doing record sessions, in other words, a recording session that's going to end up on a record, we are in the stereo phase now, 70, 72, 73, I noticed there's two overheads and a kick drum mic and a snare drum mic, and that was it. So in order to hear the tom-toms, there's nothing you can do. You've got to play them louder, or you've got to tune them where they project.
Right.
And that's where really my sound comes from, because I experimented a lot with this. In the 70s, everybody was tuning really flat and, dead loose snare drums, and I never liked that sound. Mainly because I grew up listening to big bands and jazz, so that was the sound I liked, and I wanted that to be on this record. Obviously there's a thing about the producer might want to have a certain snare drum sound, but you have to start somewhere. And the one thing I discovered was tuning the drums, the tom-toms, higher, no damping, and just single ply heads like these. They just leapt onto those overheads. Plus I adapted the way I played. So when I did a fill, I actually hit them a bit harder, a bit louder, and then came back to playing a bit quieter. It's just balancing your kit, first by choice of tuning, shells, and choice of cymbals, and then the way you play it. So important. And it doesn't matter how many microphones you have, if you don't have that, it will never sound good. But if you do have that, you can have one, or you can have 20,
Yeah.
whatever it is,
Quite a
20,
bit.
24. I can't remember. I never remember. And I mic it up myself many times for recording sessions, but I still forget, sometimes because I add extra mics. It's still the same concept. It doesn't change, which is kind of interesting.
So you would actually recommend, like, when like the younger drummers of our area right now, they have such an easy, they can get easy like all the microphones for drums right away because
Yeah,
it's like more common today than
Yes, it is,
that everybody has his own home studio and everything.
Yeah.
So how can one practice this? Like, is just put a microphone and on top of the drums and then start playing and then listen to it, or?
Yeah. I think one has to remember is that when you're playing the instrument, and it doesn't matter what instrument it is, it will never sound the same as if you're sitting in that seat there. And we tend to forget that. A lot of drummers, they want their kit to sound like it does on a record 2 feet away from it.
Yeah.
Ain't going to work. Because if you do that, and by the time you get there, it doesn't have any tone left. So that's the first thing. Get someone else to play the kit and listen to it. Stand away from it. It's a projecting instrument. Every instrument projects, When you play, violin players, what they hear is very different to what you hear out in the audience. Trumpet, baritone, any instrument you can imagine. Even piano, because the piano, you're behind the keyboard. And the lid is like that. You're not hearing what the audience is hearing. If it's acoustic, or if you put microphones on it in a classical miking situation where you would do a figure of 8, like a summon difference, or you do a coincidence pair, which is where the crook of the piano is maybe 3 feet away for a classical sound. That's where the sound's coming from. So you as the musician has to get used to the piano or any instrument not really ever hearing it the way other people hear it.
Yeah.
So get someone else to play a kit and go, oh, I see what he means. I don't hear the tom-toms,
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing to do. And of course, the first thing I was asked today is, do I need noise gates?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's a drum kit. Would you put a noise gate on a voice, a vocal?
Never.
No. I mean, only if that microphone is on stage and nobody's singing into it.
Yeah, well,
And you want to close it off, fine. But you see, back in my day, we used to use spill to our advantage. You listen to a lovely Rudy Van Gelder record, direct to stereo, actually mono originally, and you can hear when Elvin Jones hits that snare drum, you can hear it through the piano mic. There's only one, right?
Yeah.
But he used it because he didn't have many channels. He used it to his advantage, and those records still sound amazing. I know it's a different type of music, but when we got into rock and roll, it was the same engineers that grew up recording big bands, and we didn't have many microphones. We didn't have many tracks, So it was basically the same thing, kick drum, snare drum, bass, guitar, piano. They're all single faders, It's kind of the same concept, and then of course we all got into this multi-miking thing, which is all fine, but it's still the basic same concept. Yeah. And that's where, when I'm engineering, I still have that the simplicity of it. I think, regardless if you have loads of microphones, you're just creating more problems actually. Yeah. But then you got to find a way around these problems, like we did today. This phase is a big issue with that, making records. Okay. So. I think, again, it comes back to the acoustic sound of the drum kit. Is it working? Yeah. And I think people need to spend more time figuring out how to get their sound,
Right, yeah.
It's very generic these days, and that's a bit of a shame.
That's true, yeah. There's not a lot of, everybody tries to sound the same in a way. You can't differ who's on drums these days anymore.
You almost can't tell anymore.
Yeah, right.
We used to always tell, I could always tell when it was Lenny White's ride cymbal or Elvin Jones's cymbals or Art Blakey's, or Blakey's snare drum. Well, that's what I strove for back in those days. I wanted to have a distinctive sound, and I worked very hard at it, and I battled through many sessions with an engineer going, well, the snare drum's too tight, it's too ringy. Yeah, you go to the next session, they're loving it. So you can't please everybody.
Yeah. But you're also producing a lot of music, and you're also engineering a lot of music. And I guess this also is like an influence of how you play the drums, because you hear it a lot of times from the other side of the room.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and that's really helped playing in the studio, is because you figure out what might work in a live situation, and then you go into the control room and you listen and you go, oh, that's not really actually working sonically. I'm not talking about the actual part that you're playing, but sonically. And I'll tell you a real example of that is a lot of drummers, when they do a drum fill, the bass drum is still going away. A speaker cabinet can't handle all that bottom end. A bass drum with a tom-tom at the same time. Again, it's a kind of a phase thing. If you go two together, it's going to phase itself out just because you've got two low-end instruments clashing with each other. So I developed a way of doing all my fills where I would stop playing the bass drum, but the groove would never stop. That's the thing. And if it's just one tom hit, then the kick drum only has to lay out for one beat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it gives the speakers plenty of room to reproduce the sound of that tom-tom. You've just spent, 5-10 minutes getting a great floor tom sound, and you've added bottom end, you've taken up 500 hertz, you've boosted 4K a little bit, and then, it sounds great, But then when all the music's there, where's it gone? You see what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
And of course, that's just within the drum kit itself.
Yeah.
You've also got a bass player. Ron Carter, the upright player, he would comment if there was a drummer tuning his floor tom or his rack tom to a certain pitch that was clashing his notes. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the awareness of what all the parts, it's the sum of all the parts. And that's the one thing as an engineer and a producer you have to think of. Very much from an engineering perspective. What is working? What's clashing?
Yeah. Would you say you have the same? I mean, you still have the same sound, but do you change the tuning quite a bit depending on what recording session you're in? Like, what kind of instruments are there in the recording and everything, or do you try to keep it the same?
The drum kit almost never changes.
Almost never changes.
Almost, but
Right.
the snare drum.
The snare drum. Yeah.
So if I'm starting a recording session, the first thing I do is, I'll just pick a drum, whatever snare drum. Usually the one that kind of is the same color as the kit.
Yeah.
It's a good way to start, It's usually not the right one, but it'll start. You do your sound check and you listen to the kit and, that sounds great, lovely, a little bit here, right, that sounded great. Now, let's play music with it. And even in the headphones, I can go, the snare's not working for this track. It's just not working. So if it's really pissing me off, I'll just stop and go in and change it. If it's like, at least I can learn the song a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
And then I'll listen to it and I'll go, okay, what does it need? And that's why I have a big rack of snare drums. A lot of them quite old, like a lot of vintage snare drums. Ludwig, Slingerland, Leedy, Heyman, and older Thomann drums. Funny enough, I don't have a Gretsch. That's the funny thing. I just realized that. I don't have one. So I will often use one of my favorite drums for recording, especially rock music, is the Ludwig Super Sensitive 6.5 inch, the 411.
All right.
I think it's a 411. Yeah, 411. For some reason, it just records beautifully. Wow. When you hit it acoustically against that one or something, it's a little characterless. But it has the qualities that's what I call very microphone friendly. It's not too loud. It's not too transient. Being a metal shell, it spreads. So, and a microphone tends to prefer that for whatever reason, So I'll put that snare up, and then I won't even bother changing the tuner, just how it ever was last time,
Yeah.
No, that sounds right. And off you go, and then okay, that feels good in the phones. Now let's go and listen to it. And I'll listen to it and I go, now I'm hearing the track. I'm going, I think it needs to come down in pitch. So now I've chosen my snare.
Yeah.
And then I'll bring it down in pitch. But you see, there's something else that's happening. If that snare drum is quieter than the one I was using before, that changes the whole perspective of the drum kit. Because what's going on to the overheads is now different.
Right.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So I haven't touched anything else, just the snare drum. But the whole kit has changed just because of changing that one thing. A lot of it is also in the playing. I might just play a little quieter, or I might just adapt a few things, you know. I might, if it's a ballad, I won't hit any rim shots. I'll just hit the center of the drum, and I'll turn the gain up another 5 dB.
Yeah. Okay.
And be very careful not to play too loud, you know. And I haven't touched a tom-tom. The next thing I might do is the kick drum.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, it usually works great for every song. But then sometimes I go, let's try something else with the kick drum. And then I might pull some dampening out of it, make it more ringy. I might put extra dampening on the front head.
Mm-hmm.
I might move the microphone a little bit. They're very sensitive where that microphone sits with a bass drum. You pull it out a little bit, suddenly you've got a lot more bottom end and less attack.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's just nuances, or is it
Nuances?
Okay.
Literally, with that microphone and these kick drums, it's tiny, just like a wow, you know. Another thing I do is if I'm playing a ballad, one thing I can try, and I love doing this, and when I work with engineers, I said, they go, what? I said, okay, I want you to turn, if we're using an Eve, then you have pre-selected 5 dB steps.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to turn all the tom-toms up one step. Okay, click, 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 click. Right, now you've raised the gain of the microphone. So I have to be very careful. Mm-hmm. Now, if I play really quiet, and the overheads, and the kick, and the snare, everything's up. Now I play real quiet, the sound is gorgeous. It goes boom. You know, still no reverb. We haven't even added reverb yet. The kit itself is creating its own reverb. Plus I use room mics. Mm-hmm. That's very important. I can just change the way that track sounds purely by lifting all the gains of the drums and playing very carefully. It's a nice, neat little trick. And engineers go, wow, that's cool. You know, I mean, it's hard to do with an inexperienced player.
Okay,
you know, they have trouble just being consistent with the snare drum.
One,
you know, which is that's the first thing you learn when you start recording. Yeah, consistency. You know, you know when your audio file to start off like that, and I go like this because he got louder. You know, or one snare the peak meter goes up to minus 10, then minus 25. You know, so there's a lot to learn. It takes years.
Yeah, that's right.
But there's some little tips anyway.
Cool, thanks a lot. Let's talk a little bit about your projects. Like you just ended the tour with Protocol 5, right?
Yep.
And you have some really, really intricate grooves and textures also in this project. What is your favorite? Actually, do you have one, or one that is specifically like challenging in a way?
Oh, they're all challenging.
They're all challenging.
It's so funny. You get a simple song, and sometimes that can be even more challenging because with simpler playing and simpler songs, you're thinking more sonically, or I am. I always think sonically. How does this sound? You know? But yeah, I mean, I never say a track is easy.
I really love your approach to Nyanga, by the way, because this is maybe also very sonically.
Yes, yes. That's a real. Again, it has to be. You can't play it too loud because there's a little roll in there, and you want that to come out. And if everything else is louder, then you don't hear it so well. You know, it doesn't really. What is that? You know. And the other thing is, you know, I have 7 tom-toms and a gong drum. Which one do I hit?
Right. Yeah.
Right? I could hit one, like alternate each one. That would just sound absolutely stupid if you're listening to a record, because as the listener, you're going boom, boom. It takes your ear away from the music. You're you're insisting upon itself is a nice term, you know. The listener doesn't want to be distracted like that. So pick a drum that works really nice. And actually, amazingly enough, number 5 in the studio always seems to work well.
Yeah.
No matter, regardless of the key of the song, it's just the way it's tuned, and it's pretty much always the same. I mean, up or down a little bit, you know. Yeah, don't be careful about your choice of, you know, don't keep mixing all the toms up, you know. Maybe the 4th one you change. Again, it's down to taste. Always down to taste. But I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is probably one of my favorite songs to play.
Oh, really?
And it is, but more because of Maro's keyboard solo. It's just the way my keyboard player, he's from Caracas, Venezuela, so he has a lot of Latin chops.
Yeah, okay.
And the way he plays it, he has this big Latin side to it, his phrasing, you know. And every night he plays something different, and it's just amazing. And I'm playing real simple. I'm just looking at him and, wow, you know, sounds great. And then the guitar player, Alex, he takes over it's in a different key, and it's lovely, you know. So that's when I really enjoy playing music, when I'm hearing the other guys playing beautifully on it.
Yeah. So you would say also that there's a lot of evolution from the record and then playing it live on stage over and over.
There's even evolution between concerts too. Last night we did something, one of Otmaro's solos actually, in Indian Summer. The trouble is, after about 2 weeks, I get bored. Even playing my own material, I start getting bored. I go, here we go again, you know? And what can I do that would work with the song but would be very different? And he started playing something that was very inside, wasn't a lot of movement. And I actually kind of stopped playing the groove and started playing more classical. It's a bad comparison, but Ravel's Bolero, right? It's a totally different groove.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's all snare drum. And I just laid off the hi-hat and bass drum. I just started playing like more of a snare drum thing with gaps. The groove was still there because Ernest is still playing the bass line. It was really cool. And we were like, wow, you know. And it's always lovely to do something like that.
Yeah.
And the audience pick up on it because they see how we're reacting. They go, you know, oh, wow, this is great, you know. One of the other tunes, we're in 7/8, I just started playing straight ahead. And Ernest is like, doo 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 doo. It's really funny. And I'm always going, oh, wow. A straight ahead in 7. See, I love that shit.
Yeah.
You know? But it's not normal and people are not used to it.
Yeah.
So you really have to, you know, open your mind. And this is why I'm such a huge fan of Tony Williams. You know, he would never play the same any night. He'd always try for something different. But it was always very musical.
Yeah.
And I love that. That's creativity, you know.
Cool. Yeah, and talking about creativity, especially like I think in Protocol, you also have a lot of creative freedom.
Yeah.
So what would you say inspires you in composing and writing music today? Like maybe also what happens live on stage? Do you take this and then...
Yeah. I mean, I don't think about it too much. I just want to start getting a tune together. I haven't written actually anything for Protocol for a long time.
Okay.
I've been busy doing the Darwin project, so it's been more composing and arranging those songs.
Yeah,
so slightly different vein, more prog rocky, you know.
Yeah.
So I do need to get back into writing for Protocol, but sometimes I need a long break because I just don't want to write the same shit. You know, it's boring. I also don't want the new record for people to say, oh, it sounds like the one before, you know. The sound is going to be similar because it's a band and it is a project. It should sound, and we record it live, which is very important. So it always is going to sound like the same band, but I will try to make some of the compositions, you know, very different. But once I get into the writing, then often I think this might be really good for live. You know, how would we approach this? But I don't think about it too much.
Okay.
I just go with it. You know, melody, very important. I often start with melody, actually. A lot of the tunes on Protocol 5 was melody down, you know. Very few were kind of a few chords and a groove, you know.
Yeah.
And I never play drums. I mean, only on the final demo.
Okay.
I just have a click usually, or I might program something
Oh, yeah.
using Groove Agent or something, which is my sounds anyway on that one package.
Yeah.
But they might be the last thing, actually, unless I have a specific idea. I was trying to think of that song on Protocol 4. I've forgotten the name of it. Oh, well, never mind.
Yeah.
Where I wanted to do kind of like a David Garibaldi Tower of Power groove, but in 7.
Okay. Yeah.
So I programmed it, literally,
Nice, really?
you know, because I didn't want to forget it, you know. And then when it came to playing it, I was like, oh, shit. You know. So, and that's good in itself, because you hear something, it comes from something you want to hear, not something that you play, which kind of comes automatically.
Yeah.
And it comes because you're used to doing things. But if you can program something, it's just purely what you're hearing, and you're not thinking about the technical approach to
how
it.
you
And then
play
you
it,
sit down and go, oh, shit, I'm going to try to figure out how to play this now. And that, to me, is great, because it's expanding your vocabulary.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I know that. I don't know. Maybe you know him, Matt Halpern. He's a drummer of Periphery. It's like
I've heard of him.
metal
Yes,
band.
yes.
And in his, I think when they write records and songs, he always programs his drums first
Uh-huh.
as well, and then he goes also in the studio, and then he replays
Right,
what he
right.
programmed.
Ah.
Crazy. It's also
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's an infinite amount of ways to approach composition or arrangement or even playing it in the studio. Sometimes when it comes to playing the track in the studio, I totally change it because I came up maybe with something more imaginative or something that fit the music better.
Yeah.
You know, even though the music might have been written to that original idea, now take that away and then play it as though you've never heard that song before. Or play it like you're someone else, you know, that thing. I like messing around with that psychologically. You know?
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the Darwin project, because
Sure.
I didn't know that it's also quite some time ago that you started it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
maybe you can tell us a little bit about how it came about. And what I really enjoyed was that you were releasing some new stuff lately. And I saw the YouTube video.
Yep.
And besides like being great music, at least for my taste, I really enjoyed how much fun you had.
Yes,
Recording these songs.
Well, so just generally, I get a lot of emails. It usually starts off with an email these days. You know, people don't have your telephone, nobody calls anybody anymore. So I get a bunch of emails, and these are usually emails which are they come through the website requesting, you know, would you play on my album and blah 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 blah. And okay, let me hear something, you know, and see if it's something I can, you know, contribute to it. And sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's not so good. It just depends, really. But I'm pretty open-minded about it. If I kind of like the music, or I like the singer, or the guitar player, whatever it is, or whoever's album it is, I like the tone. I go, okay, let me see. I'm sure, I can do this, regardless of the style. You know? So I'm getting these, and that's exactly what happened. Darwin sent me an email. And he said, I really like your production on Derek Sherinian's Inertia. And so I quickly got the vibe that he's obviously pretty into prog rock. You know, he's into Dream Theater, and, you know. And he had a lot of crazy ideas. I want orchestra, I want, you know, I thought, okay, all right. So, you know, you start the thing, and you never know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
And after a few emails, then I said, okay, well then why don't let's book some time. And he'd already sent me some demos. I said, let's see if we can record 2 or 3 tracks. And so he turns up, and I meet him for the first time. And I think Ernest Tibbs, my bass player, I booked him. And first thing I did was just totally rearrange something. I said, okay, right, this is too long. Get rid of that. Put that bit there. You know, it's with the demo, you know?
Yeah.
And then, so we have an arrangement, and then we start playing. And that's literally how it started. And that was in, I think, 2015.
Sweet, yeah.
And
10 years ago, yeah.
Yeah, and now, of course, the writing team it's a triumvirate. It's Darwin, Matt Bissonette, who's he's the singer, and main lyric writer, but Darwin also contributes lyrics, and I'm kind of the producer, co-arranger, co-composer, and I'll get the demo and the original demo. I'll transcribe it because he just plays, puts it down. He's not very technical. He just puts it down. That's it, and sends it. So I got to go. What's that bass note? Oh, right, okay. Put it all into MIDI because that way I can chop it up. I can also change the key.
Okay.
All sorts of things. And then once I get the basic song together, I then go, the great thing about this project is it's not 3-minute songs. We can go on. So then I'll go, what about if I do kind of like a Yes vibe on this, Relay or something, as one on the new album, which we're recording at the moment.
Yeah.
And I thought, I know this is a little bit left of field, because here's the song, and then suddenly it makes a big left. And I thought, I'm just going to go with it, because it's what I'm hearing. I put it all down, put it in there. Then I make this demo, and I send it back. And it's all done by, email. And then I get an email back. It's like, wow, love that. That's so cool. Whatever, hopefully.
Hopefully.
I said, no, I'm not too keen on that bit. And that's kind of how it works. And we've got this lovely working relationship. And now we have Mohini Day playing bass in the band, who's, fantastic. And it's something very different for her too. Most of the stuff she's done is more jazzy. This is much more rock and prog, and it's something I think she's really enjoying it, but it's new to her.
Yeah.
So she's had to, okay, all right, and we work it out. We do all the tracks, the three of us, live. And so at least the basic track is, there's all my MIDI keyboards and stuff. Sometimes I mute a lot of that so we can just hear what we're doing, but at least we know where we are in the song.
Yeah.
Matt does demo vocals, so we've already got a vocal, which is really important. And that's it. And then I take it home and I start working on it. And then I send a session to Greg Howe, and he does his guitar. I send a session to Julian Pollack, who's amazing, or Derek Sherinian, or Jesse Siebenberg, who is a wonderful multi-instrumentalist. He used to sing with Supertramp.
Oh,
he took over from Roger. Yeah. And his dad is the drummer, Bob.
Nice.
Yeah. And he lives in the same place that I live. Wonderful singer, wonderful guitar player. And eventually, I get all these files, I download the files and pop them into the session starts growing, and one screen, now it's the second screen, now it's 3 screens long. The shift button. And that's how we do it,
Great.
Yeah.
I really like this way of working. It's also nice that you try something completely different and then see for the reaction. And it's like, ooh.
Yeah, we got a couple. I think there's 3 tracks where I kind of wrote this whole middle section of just something totally different. I even sang on it. Yikes. I'm not a singer. But it's just to get the idea, it's like more like 10cc, the beautiful song of theirs, I'm Not in Love, where they all went out and sang one note and recorded that on one track, and then another note on another track.
Oh, wow.
So they would actually have, C sharp, like F sharp, A, and they could just bring the faders up like that. You make a loop, and a multi-track loop. And that way you can create these voices. So I kind of did that kind of stuff, except with Pro Tools, it's much easier. You don't have to cut the tape, splice it together, and put a microphone stand to hold the tension. You don't have to do that. Although I used to love doing all that stuff. Yeah. But I grew up with tape machines,
Yeah. Yeah, I love recording to tape machines still, but it's really not very common anymore, unfortunately. But
no,
that's all right. Yeah.
I mean, there's a good reason for that. I mean, I used to, when I owned an analog studio, I mean, I was the maintenance guy, so I had to do all the alignments, and it takes time. I mean, and if you want to go from one project to another, then that's it. You got to put the reel on, and you got tones on the reel. You got to realign the machine because the batch of tape is probably different. Yeah. Even though the machine, you're probably only half a dB off, but still, it's got to be right. Yeah. And then you can work on that project. Yeah. Now we can just go from mixing one project straight to another. So if I can't get this mixed together, close. It's very easy to take the reel off the machine. You just go dink, dink, blink, and it disappears. It's wonderful. And then you go to your drive and go, oh, let's open that one. I was working on that mix. And a minute later, bang, it's there,
Yeah, cool.
Nice way of working.
Oh, thanks so much for sharing this information. All.
Great, yeah,
Really, really cool.
lovely.
Do we have time for some more, or we're really...
I'm fine.
You're fine, yeah?
Yeah, but whatever you want to do.
Okay, sweet. Let me check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way you have to be, right?
Let me see. Maybe we can talk about a little bit of your early days and your inspiration and motivation as you start very early playing professional in your career. And maybe you can tell us a little bit how it all started and what drove you back then and maybe it still drives you today.
Well, I mean, it was a very unusual situation. And in some respects, I'm very lucky to have that unusual situation. But it was a situation which came about purely by circumstance. I started playing when I was about 3, and I used to play along to records. That's how I learned. My first recording session was when I was 6, and I still have the tape. Well, no, I don't have the tape anymore, but the recording.
Yeah.
And what that was my dad wanted to see whether I really had any talent, because he really didn't want me to be in the music business. And he was also very, he was very, very particular and didn't like what was happening with music at that time. He wanted me to learn 2 tunes and then go to one of his broadcasts and sit there while the band recorded, and then ask the producer, would you mind staying just to do 2 songs with my son playing drums? Yeah. I only had a snare drum and a cymbal. I didn't even have a full kit. The other drummer, who was, by the way, the drummer I first saw at 3 that made me start playing drums. Dave Rogers, that was his name. He was a beautiful drummer too. Ludwig kit, never forget that 400 snare drum. And that speaking, oh yeah. So he played hi-hat and bass drum, right? No headphones.
Okay.
And the engineer just put one mic over the top, So I played one with the whole band, and then one with my dad playing piano, 2 pianos, and trumpet, bass, and drums. It was like a quintet.
Yeah.
And I still have those recordings. And I did okay. I remember the songs and started when the band started and finished when the band finished, and he was like, oh, okay. But he still wanted me to go to school and study properly. But my mum was really encouraging. He wasn't. But I think he just, he'd been in the music business since 1920-something, 25.
Okay.
So at the beginning, he probably had one of the first jazz bands in England. It was amazing, really. So I was at that point going to a prep school, which is in England. It's a private school and boarding school. Very Tom Brown school days. This is 60s. I went there in 65, and every New Year's Eve he would play a local gig, and I would sit in with the band like 2 or 3 songs.
Okay.
So I'd already got a little bit of experience I did that when I was 8 years old. That was the first time. Then at 9, then at 10. And whenever I could, I would just play along to records and, learn to play, basically. In 1969, his style of music was Dixieland. It was Dixieland dance music. And his charts were very specific, and he didn't want anything else added. He just wanted you to play the chart as it was written.
Yeah.
At that time, there were very few drummers in London that wanted to play like that. They all wanted to play like Elvin Jones. They wanted to play bebop. And it drove him nuts. Now, the studio guys, who were the really good musicians, the A-level studio guys, they didn't go out and do gigs. They didn't need to. They just sat in studios all day. And there was so much work in those days, Now, they were great. They knew how to play. Yeah. But the kind of the other level of musicians that did all the gigging, they weren't, and they couldn't be bothered. They didn't respect that music. And my dad came home once from a gig, fuming because of the bloody drummer this, bloody drummer that. trying to play bebop with and my mum, she just said, okay, enough. You've got a damn good drummer living in this house, take him out on the road. I said, are you nuts? He's 12 years old. The youngest guy in the band's 30. He said, I know, but I think it'll work. That's how it started.
Wow.
I know. Now, that meant I had to leave my school.
Right.
Because the headmaster there said, no, you can't. You've got to make a decision. You're either going to play your funny music or you're going to study. Very British,
Yeah.
A 12-year-old kid? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm going to go and play with a band. Last thing I want to know is learn about is trigonometry and Greek. That's a dead language. Why would I learn that? That's how you are at 12 years old. And so he said, right, you come do this gig, and played the first gig and did okay. And that was it. I joined the band in September 1969. So the school thing was tricky because I had to go to the local school, and it was a state school, and the differences was about 2 years of education. Mm-hmm. That's not good for a 12-year-old because the 12-year-old just goes, I'm not going to learn anything, and socially, it was difficult because education-wise, I should have gone into, I can't remember if it was the fifth form or something with kids 2 years older than me. But socially, that would have been very strange. Mm. And the headmaster, and I understand now, I didn't like the headmaster anyway. He asked me if I could spell necessary. That was my exam, I know it's so crazy, but it was still the 60s, But he had a tough decision to make. So, and I would go to school Monday through Thursday, and sometimes I'd have to go, excuse me, miss, I've got a gig tonight, I've got to leave now. And some of the teachers just were like, they didn't get it. So I had to leave that school. That didn't work out well. But there was another school that did work out great, and my dad was very smart. Actually, was a teacher that told him to say, come and play a gig at the school. So they put on a dance, and he played, because all the teachers then saw that I was the drummer of the band and earning more than they were, probably, right? So it was a very unusual start, but it was an amazing start to have such professional experience at that age.
Yeah.
And it was tough. There were a lot of incidents that went through those 4 years, which are pretty rough, But what a great experience, especially when it came to studio recording. I was already used to the red light, as I used to go as a kid. So I kind of knew how to behave in the studio. And time is the most important thing, good time. And my dad was really strict about that. So that's how it all started. So it was a very unusual, I don't even know if you could even do that nowadays, just legally. I wasn't in the musicians union.
Yeah.
I was supposed to go to school, but who's going to monitor it? Nowadays it would be very difficult to do.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe with a private teacher or... how this works.
You could do. Yeah, well, if you can afford it.
Yeah, if you can.
That's the other thing. We wouldn't. My dad wouldn't be at that point. Probably wouldn't be able to afford private tuition. Yeah. It was talked about actually, but it was out of the range. It was still 69, 70, 71. Living in Britain was still it was pretty austere back in those days. I think for all of Europe. Yeah.
Cool. Wow, that's super interesting. Right. Great, Simon. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
It was a really big pleasure to talk to you, to meet you. And
thank you.
I think the first time I saw you live, I was probably like 12 years old.
Yeah.
So you did a little like a workshop at you remember Session Music in close to Mannheim.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Waldorf.
Yeah.
So this is.
I remember the name. Yeah, I don't always remember the venue. Yeah. Sometimes I do. We did a lot. Him and I. Thousands of miles, I think, over the years, Yeah.
Yeah, and I went there with my dad, and I was like blown away, and I still am.
Oh, thank you. That's very sweet. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming out.
Pleasure.
Nice.
Wonderful.
And you guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, and I will see you again very soon in one of the next videos. Simon out. Bye-bye. Oh, this is only at the beginning.
Oh. Yeah. Sorry. I broke.
Well, you can finish the video with this then.